our footer. Now, as you may have guessed, we're going to follow the same pattern we've been following for this entire course, where we add all of the HTML code that we need and build the structure, and then after that we will go and then we have a phone number, a set of hours, our nav links, and then some social media sharing icons, and then a little copyright symbol down at the bottom. Now I'm going to ask you to do something, and it's completely up to you if you want to do it or not, but by now we have covered all of the skills that you will need in order to implement what I'm showing you right here. And so what my recommendation would be, if you're taking this course because you want to learn HTML and CSS and it's really your goal to be able to build any kind of website that you're ever asked to build, then I would recommend that you pause the video right now, maybe take a screenshot of what we have here, and then go and try and build it yourself. Now, if you do not feel ready for it, that's perfectly fine. But even if you feel like you're about halfway ready, then I'd recommend to try to do it, because it's been my experience that I really learn the most, not by watching someone else implementing something, but I learn by following a model and then going and implementing that myself, because I discover that there are many concepts that I maybe thought I understood until I started writing the code. And so that is what I'd recommend for you to do. Now I'm going to go and I am going to implement this. I'm going to start in this video. I'm just going to do the HTML, and then later on we'll add the CSS. So we know we need a logo, a phone. Okay, let me actually, just to make life a little bit easier on us, this is what I would do in a real life project. I would come down here, I would shrink this so that I don't have to keep switching back and forth. So I'm going to move this all the way to the side, and then I'll shrink the code here so that we can be looking at this, and that will make it a little bit easier for us. So let's go to the index. We have our map here, so this is going to go below the map, and I'm going to create a class called footer, and now all of these elements are going to go inside of it. We know that we have a logo for the footer, and inside of here we're going to need that image tag. So I'll say image, and the source on this is going to be images, logos, and then it's going to be the same one we use on the top. And let's also add a alt tag. So here we'll just say logo, and that's all we need for the logo footer. And below that you can see that we need to have the phone number and then the hours. So I'm going to create a new class here, and I'm just going to call that, let's just call it footer-phone-hours. And inside of here, we're going to place both of those elements. So we'll place the phone number 555-555-5555. Just in case you're wondering, no, that is not my real phone number, so don't try calling it. So now if I come here, I'm going to wrap this up in a class called phone and close it off. Now I want to show you something that I'm going to do here that's a little bit different, and it's a topic we've not talked about yet, but I am going to, instead of using a div here, I'm going to use what is called a span. Now a span is very similar to a div. The only key difference here is that a span, if you put it on the same line as other text, so if we put two spans together like we're about to, it's not going to give the same type of line break that we usually would get with a div. And because we want to have these two elements sitting right next to each other, a span is a good option. So for the hours, I'm going to say span dot, and now just say hours. And now inside of here, we can put those hours. So I'm going to say 10 a.m. Give a space in between here, 10 a.m. and then to midnight, just like that. Now moving on to the navigation links, you may have noticed that I have the identical links here as we had in the top. Well, there is no reason to retype all of that or to create custom classes when you want the identical behavior. And if you also remember back to when I was talking about how we wanted to make sure our links wrapper was scalable so we could use it in different parts of the application, well, this is part of why I wanted to do that. So what we can actually do is come here and highlight all of the content for links wrapper, and we can just copy all of it, and then I'm going to put it inside. So I'm going to have our links wrapper, and then we need to fix the indentation just like that. So that's all we need to do, and now we have all of our links wrapper. Now moving down, we have our social media icons. So here, let's create a div. We'll call it social-media-icons wrapper. And inside of here, we're going to have a few links. So we'll have one link, and this first one's going to go to Instagram. And I'm not going to actually put the links in here because this restaurant doesn't have a Instagram page. But we've already walked through how to do that. So you could wrap that up and put your all of your Instagram code in there. I'm just going to put a hash. This is kind of the convention that you'll see whenever you want to create a link, but you don't want to point it anywhere. Just put a hash in there, and that way you're not going to get an error if a user clicks on it. It's just going to give it's just going to put a hash up in the URL bar and not do anything else. So now that we have that, we're going to want a icon here. So let's switch over into the browser, and let's open up a new window just so we don't have to move our browser from where it's at. And then we'll go to Font Awesome, and we'll grab the icons that we need. Font Awesome. So we want to grab Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So let's say Instagram. There we go. And now you can just copy this link right here and then paste it in. And now here we're going to do the same thing for the other links. Oop. And one more. Okay, so now we have all three links, but they're all pointing to Instagram. So let's grab the Facebook one, or Twitter one, I guess, next. And then we want this first one. This one is just FA-Twitter. So technically you can just come here and edit that name. And then I'm guessing this one's going to be Facebook, but it may be FB. Let's just verify just to make sure. So Facebook, you have a few different options. Oh, and they went with Facebook and then just a -F. So I'm glad that we looked at that. -F, just like that. And then we want at the very bottom below social media icons wrapper, we want one more, and this is going to be our copyright wrapper. And inside of here, I'm going to show you how to implement something that is called a HTML entity. So if you ever wonder how you could have special characters like a copyright symbol, what you can do is use the HTML entity property. So the one for a copyright is kind of, I want to say it's easy to remember, but it's probably only because I've been doing it for a while. It is going to start with a ampersand, followed by the word copy, and then you do get some nice autocomplete here. So you finish that off with a semicolon, and that's going to give you the copyright symbol. And then from there, you can say whatever year you want, and then the name, and then I want to go with a pipe character. Now the pipe character I did have to put in my notes because I do not remember this one. It is going to be the the ampersand followed by the hash symbol 124, and then from there we can say all rights reserved. Okay, so what an HTML entity is whenever you have special characters, these are the types of characters that maybe aren't directly on a keyboard. HTML needs to know how to process those properly. And so the best approach is usually to use a HTML entity, and you can look those up. So just in case you're wondering how you will know how to put them in your own application, if you just type HTML entities into Google, you will have a full list of all of them. So it has some of the more popular ones here. And so you can see here's the copyright one. You have some of the financial symbols, you have ampersands, greater than symbols, the entity number, and you can use either one of these. And then they have some other options. So that's what you can do to look that up. So with all of that in place, I believe that is everything we are going to need. So let's close off Font Awesome and let's spread this back out. So now if we come to our own site, hit refresh and come down, you'll see right now, if you remember our image, our logo is gigantic. So it's actually here, but it's taking up all of that space. So we're not going to worry about that. We do have our little nav icons here, or nav links, and those are working. We're going to have to create a wrapper with our styles to do that, but you can see that we have each one of our social media icons, and then our HTML entities are working. So we have the copyright symbol, the little pipe in the middle, so we have all of the content that we need for our footer. And in the next guide, we're going to start styling it.